So she can. My gratitude for your wise words.
All right, I'm glad I could fill the bill here tonight. So the chapter tonight is It's All in the Details. And as I was reading this, I was reflecting on part of the chant we do every Wednesday night. The phrase where we chant, Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, existing right here and now. So I think this is very relevant to the chapter in the sense that when we say it's all in the details, the all is not what the Buddha is teaching here. The all is our Buddha nature. It's not. And then if we approach the teaching of mindfulness, which is what we're talking about here, from a dualistic framework, and mindfulness is a big thing now, but it's very commercialized in some ways, and it becomes self-conscious mindfulness, which is not in the true Buddhist sense of what mindfulness is about. And Jon Kabat-Zinn, who is kind of the pioneer of the mindfulness movement here in the West recently, is very much a contemplative, practitioner, and he's aware of all that. So Buddha nature saturates all our experience. It pervades the whole universe, but it's the very substance of all of our experience. So when we pay attention to the details, we're paying attention to the details of what's going on in our outer life, like how we walk, how we talk, how we pay attention to our life. But it also includes our inner life, and Suzuki Roshi, who is Catherine's teacher, and Reb Anderson, her teacher, Suzuki Roshi taught them both. He said that when you fix your mind on some activity, he's talking about the quality of being here. When you do something, if you fix your mind on the activity with some confidence, and when he was talking about confidence, he's always talking about confidence that we are the Buddha. We are the Buddha nature. He says, when you fix your mind on some activity with confidence in your Buddha nature, the quality of your state of mind is the activity itself. When you are concentrated on the quality of your being, you are prepared for the activity. So the details of our experience, both inner and outer, Suzuki Roshi also said that, when we sit zazen and breathe, the air comes in from the outer world into the inner world, and then from the inner world back to the outer world. But both the inner world and the outer world are boundless. In other words, our very being, our Buddha nature, is dimensionless, boundless, and that's our actual experience if we investigate deeply enough. So the details, both inner and outer, are important because they're an expression of our Buddha nature, and the experience of the details of our life are an opportunity to surrender to our Buddha nature and to give away and make offerings of all of our experience to the presence that we share with all beings. This is the Buddha's teaching, in his Great Awakening on the morning of his enlightenment. I and all beings together attain the way. So we already are what we seek. And practice is to help us to realize that. So I always like metaphors of nature, to reflect that oneness of body and mind, the oneness of us and all beings. And I'm reminded of a short poem that Rumi, one of Mitch, our founder of our group here, liked Rumi, and many of us also have learned to appreciate Rumi's poetry. A short poem, he said, and you may have heard this before, even after all this time, the sun has never once said to the earth, "You owe me." Look what happens with love like that. It lights up the sky. So for me, there's that awe and wonder, we talk about staying in the present moment or as the present moment. There's that awe and wonder that we don't really know what reality is, but somehow the fact that we can all resonate with that statement, it lights up the sky. And Thich Nhat Hanh, the great Zen master from Vietnam, had a saying that the world of suffering and discrimination is filled with the light of the rising sun. So that's another way of saying that all of our suffering, all of our experience is being illuminated and transformed and nourished by the light of the rising sun. And so Buddha's great teaching is that when we harmonize with this life force that lights us up, our suffering is transformed. And together we attain the way with all beings. So I was going to read something that pertains more directly to this chapter here from Kwang Roshi. He's another student of Suzuki Roshi. He's probably close to 90 years old now. He was actually Suzuki Roshi's first Dharma heir. He says here, and he wrote this book, No Beginning, No End, and the subtitle is The Intimate Heart of Zen. So it's all about the depth of practice and the intimacy. Not knowing is most intimate, he says. And also he says that Zen is the aliveness that we bring to each moment. So the aliveness of the details of our life are lit up and brought into our awareness because of the power of our Buddha nature. So he says, our usual way is to bring all of our dualistic thinking, all of our concern with purpose and success into our activity. But this way only separates us from what we are doing and causes us many problems. We should work like the rain. The rain just falls. It doesn't ask, am I making a nice sound down below? Or will the plants be glad to see me? Will they be grateful? The rain just falls, one raindrop after another, millions and billions of raindrops only falling. This is the open secret of Zen. When we sit, we only sit. When we cook, we only cook. Otherwise, we are doing our work and spending our time in vain. Whether you are a Buddhist or not, it doesn't matter. Whether you're in front of a computer or digging a ditch or painting with a brush, it doesn't matter. In every area and activity of human life, we can follow the example of the rain. When you do engage your life in this way, when you bring some confidence to it from the foundation that you discover in sitting, this is intimacy. This is quality of being. It's a deep expression of your original nature. And there is no self-consciousness between you and your activity. No second guessing, no doubt. So, probably you've had that feeling when you go outside and it's raining, that you can feel the aliveness of the rain. That quality of being. It's the quality of our Buddha nature, and what could be more important than to explore the nature of our timeless being, our being that's always with us all the time. What could be more important than to know and explore the nature of that by which we know our experience? Knowing our experience in terms of experiencing it, being aware of it, witnessing it. Kwon Roshi goes on, he has another little paragraph here that I thought was very poignant, or very applicable here. He says, our practice is very much about letting go of all kinds of emotional or intellectual discrimination or prejudice, which separates things according to the needs and habits of our small mind, our egotistical mind. We practice this by simply investigating what is behind everything. The thoughts of the thinker, where do they actually come from? The sound you just heard, the cup you just saw. This investigation may be made using all 6 senses. As you continue this investigation, you will find that there is nothing behind. He puts the second behind in parentheses. There is nothing to see, and yet something has been seen, otherwise it couldn't be recognized. This recognition is our pure and natural awareness. It's not mind-made. It's not made by the thinking mind. This is the non-thing, not a separate thing, the unknowable, undescribable, unperceivable, but totally alive presence that can recognize things as they are. And then he says, when our inherent pure awareness is turned on without any effort, thoughts vanish so that no thoughts can exist in this spaciousness. No thoughts can exist. I mean, they can't endure. Thoughts are always just flashing by. And if we practice this, we're actually practicing leaving our thoughts alone, not judging them, not trying to get rid of them, and not trying to grasp them. Reb Anderson, who we studied, for you, those of you who've been around a while, had a saying that really helped me. He said, Bodhisattvas, those totally dedicated to the welfare and relief of suffering of all beings, they're always thinking, but they don't grasp the thoughts. They calmly offer them as gifts. They offer their whole life as gifts, give away all of our experience. And it's not just with our thinking, we offer all of our experience to the Buddha. But their thinking doesn't disturb their deep tranquility. If we don't grasp them or turn away from them, they don't disturb, they don't have on their own, they don't really exist. One question you can ask yourself, you can't grab a thought out of midair, but if you try and touch, thoughts are in our awareness, they arise in us. They don't arise somewhere else. But where do they arise really? And if you try and touch the stuff they're made of, there's no objective reference. And this is actually true of all of our experience. So I was going to read this, okay, I did read it. One thing, the truth of impermanence is some of my memory cells are floating down the cosmic stream now. So I have to offer that and confess it and be okay with that. It's part of getting old. So I did read it already. Another question you can ask yourself related to this is, has anyone ever had the experience, or have you ever had the experience of being itself, beginning or ending? Kwon Roshi's book is titled No Beginning, No End. So this being here and now, the now, another way of saying it is it's always now. We never enter the now or leave the now. Now doesn't have duration. Now is just ever presence. Another way of saying now and here is our Buddha nature. What are the qualities of our Buddha nature? We can talk about it, but we have to experience it by doing this exploration, What is a thought actually made of? What is a sensation actually made of? The truth of impermanence. Everything is flashing by, changing faster than we can comprehend. So Buddha said, when we rest in our being, abide in our original nature, there's the opportunity for deep, intimate engagement with all beings, and that is what relieves the suffering. That recognition of our shared being, that's the source of the love. So we cultivate the freedom to pay close attention to the details of both our inner and outer life. And our true nature is always offering the aliveness of the details of our life. And so when we pay attention to our being, we naturally open up. There's an openness there, a vast openness, boundless openness. We can receive those details and, pay attention to and act on them more clearly, freely. And by fully receiving these gifts, the gift of our aliveness, the gift of our compassion, and our generosity, and our contemplation, we can offer them for all beings. So I've been talking a while. Why don't we go ahead and have some conversation? Thank you. It's nice to be on Zoom again. It's like old times. We started the Zoom group, 2 years, 2.5, 3, maybe 4 years ago? 3 years, okay. 4 years, yeah.
Thank you. This was very good talk. However, to me, you kind of covered 3 areas: inward, inside world, outside world, thoughts, and also past, now, and future, right? So maybe comment or question is that you mentioned inside world and outside world. They both are boundless. Therefore, they should include each other. Could it be the goal is to have one experience which gives you experience of inside and outside both? That is where, that my thoughts are coming in. The other one you mentioned about past, now, and present. You only have now. From a logical perspective, this now doesn't even exist, because by the time you realize now, it's already becomes past, right? So none of these things really exist, and that is the Buddha nature, right? Nothing exists. And the third thing you mentioned about thoughts, I always wonder, is thoughts and thinking two different things? Because thought without thinking, which is a thought you cannot grasp on, none of the world's problem will be solved. It is the thinking which makes us invent new things and creates a new thing. Therefore, are you saying that selectively we have to grab on the thoughts so we can solve the problems? Because that tells me that all the thoughts are not just a cloud. They are there for a purpose and to solve problems, to live the everyday life. The more I think about it, the more confused I get. What is really trying to say here? What is really going on? What are we chasing the experience? What are we doing? I apologize. I'm talking too much, but this chapter really made me think a lot.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not sure if I can remember all three parts of your question, but they're all related. So I'll start with the last thing about the thoughts. I think the first thing you said was you were mentioning something about an experience. Well, the inner and outer world are both boundless, right? So an experience of them being the same. Well, it's an intuitive, we can't really embody the experience of the oneness of the inner and the outer through our thinking alone, Thinking isn't what we think it is. Thinking is a total mystery. But when we stay quiet and still and open ourselves up and just receive our being, just abide as our being, where's the separation between the inner and the outer world? There's a sense of transparency. For me, just paying attention to the transiency of everything, of all of our experience, that everything is always changing. That kind of evolves into a transparency between the inner and the outer. It's all made of the same stuff. One definition of our Buddha nature that one teacher talked about, and I don't remember who it was, but he said, our Buddha nature is that in which all experience arises, by which all experience is known. As like I mentioned in the talk, knowing in the sense of experiencing, not conceptually analyzing, but experiencing, being aware of, or witnessing. So it's in which all experience arises, by which all experience is known, and out of which all experience is made. So if we contemplate the realities of this through our own experience, using all of our senses, through exploring all of our senses, then our thinking can become clearer, and more receptive to our being, not just confined to our little container of self that we think we are. So does that answer I don't know if that answers all of your question, but say more if you want.
Partially it does.
Okay.
But if more questions can. That's the way I am, sorry.
Yeah.
But, when you're trying to grasp these things, somewhere I think we have to put the logical hat somewhere else and kind of just go with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying, but having a scientific background, I have to analyze everything. It gets me in trouble.
Yeah.
So,
we can think about things without grasping the thinking. We can use it as a way to enter our present, become the present, We don't really enter the present. We always are the present. The present doesn't come and go, The now doesn't come and go. So a big step for me was realizing that my grasping and my turning away are attempts. They're attempts to control, they're attempts to manipulate, but they're just attempts. They don't actually grasp. There's nobody present that's actually grasping anything. It's just awareness abiding. And there is that recognition of that shared being. And there's a contentment in that. There's a fearlessness in that. And there's a compassionate nature to that. And I think it's in most, great teachers, certainly those who are farther up the mountain than any of us, have said that is the cure. That is the resolution, the relief of suffering. The world can sure need it right now. So we just keep exploring, Keep your spirit of inquiry open. Yeah, we keep going. There's no end to it. There's no end to that. The journey. They say the journey to God is finite. The journey in God is infinite. We just keep going.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shitan. I liked when you were helping us understand how the inside and outside, how it can be present at the same time. It's not like we physically or mentally have to jump from one place to another. I think one of the benefits of Zazen practice is teaching us how to be aware of what's going on inside and outside at the same time. So we feel this holistic sense of being. And each moment then, as it's swiftly passing by, losing us all kinds of opportunities, but each moment is a teacher. And if we can learn to focus ourselves through our practice, that we can be inside and outside in each moment and be open, especially to whatever that moment is teaching. And I think that's the benefit of our practice, helping us just to be open and not wander through our life in every moment with these preset ideas that we may have received from one place or another. So it's the wholeness that comes through practice that is the present, the gift of our practice.
Yeah, thank you, Jishin. One other question or one other little experiment you can do is, in our experience of thinking, you can notice, especially if you've been doing meditation for a while, you can notice that there are like gaps in our thought, in our thinking, where one thought seems to start and another one stops. Well, actually, there are no, to answer another part of PJ's question, is there thoughts without thinking? Well, no, because you can't focus on a particular thought. Actually, what there is thoughts are energy, and there is thinking. There are no actual separate thoughts. There's just this energy of thinking going by all the time. And it blends in with the energy of all of our seeing, hearing, and feeling, perceiving. It's all one energy. Just like there's one world, there's one cosmic energy going, But in our experience of thinking, you can notice or you can experience kind of gaps between the thinking. And when there's no thinking, where's the separation between inside and outside? So when you start to embody a feeling of how inside and outside is created by the thought, there's an inside and an outside. But where's the actual reality of the inside and outside? It's not there. It's never been there. It's not here. Right? Stay with that. Just explore that.
We are nearing the end of our time together, so please, any questions or reflections that anyone wants to share, now is the time. All right, Sochi, quit laughing and tell us what the joke is.
Very simple. Now is the time.
Oh, wow.
I read that in Buddhism Without Beliefs, I think.
Okay. Well, thank you all for bearing with my I don't know, scattered brain when we opened, and fortunately, you enabled each other. We enabled each other to get through this. And I appreciate so much that Shikan reminded me about the schedule change. And so we will be meeting in person on Saturday and online on Saturday. So whoever is able to attend, please do, one way or the other. And then we will join up next week in person and online, unless something happens. So enjoy whatever is happening in your life, and I appreciate it very much. We've been given a great gift. So let's say our closing vows.